Hey guys, welcome to the Outer Nexus. We are going to be checking out whether there's life on Mars or not tonight.
Yeah.
Um, so NASA just got this information from the InSight lander, and we talked about it a little bit before. Um, that they basically discovered what they're calling large pockets of water underneath the surface, about a kilometer or two underneath the surface. Um, but we don't really know if that's like an actual ocean with critters swimming in it, or it's just like a mud pocket with water involved. What do you think, Billy?
Well, I don't know if it matters. Either way, it's water.
Right,
Um, and that's the big important thing
right.
is it's water. Um, any amount of water that's already on Mars is just a
It's just a
huge
bonus.
bonus because it's so cumbersome to transport.
Right.
You save so much room on a ship just because you didn't have to transport water.
Yeah.
Um, so I think any ocean that we find, anything like that, is perfectly fine.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're going to build around it too. The
Yeah.
other thing that water would help with, now, granted, if it's underground, it's a little less helpful that way.
Yeah.
But if we could pull it, to the surface in big amounts,
Yeah.
like a big lake,
Yeah.
give or take, Great Lake,
Yeah.
then it can actually also help with transport.
Yeah.
You know,
Um, yeah. And the implications of there being this much water, I'm assuming it's, well, it says likely presence of an underground reservoir.
like
What else could it really be? Maybe it's, let's see, do they have any other information about it?
I don't know if they have any other information, but
It's necessary. We haven't found, but at least we have identified, in principle, be able to sustain life. So it's basically a confirmation that there is water on Mars.
yeah,
There's likely these
likely,
pockets
yeah,
of water on Mars. So the ramifications of that alone are pretty astounding, because we've always heard this line, it's not life until it's life. We don't really know if life can be on other planets, but just 5 hours ago, and this is crazy. Um, they just found, which lander found it? Hold on. Curiosity rover detects largest organic molecules found on Mars. Um, Researchers analyzing pulverized rock on board NASA's Curiosity rover have found the largest organic compounds on the red planet to date. The finding, published Monday in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, suggests prebiotic chemistry may have advanced further on Mars than previously observed. Um, so basically, it's found evidence of these long chain hydrocarbons.
yeah. And here's the thing: I'm not a chemist. I'm not going to try and
Yeah,
speculate too much into what those long chain hydrocarbons are.
yeah,
Uh, I'm assuming they're trying to get at is it's biochemistry,
yeah,
but again, it could have been other things. It could have, in fact, one of the things that we do have and we know happens all of the time because you find it here on Earth too,
yeah.
is planets exchange material.
Yes. But if you're talking about they just found a meteorite over there with this stuff
Oh
on it.
no, I'm not saying it has to be a meteor because I'm
Yeah.
saying when the meteorite comes down, it
Yeah.
you know blows.
Right.
So for a while, the life could have lived here for just a bit, on Mars, and then died off because it's not
So life did live on Mars and then died off.
and then died off.
Okay.
But from Earth.
Yeah.
So that's something
From
we
Earth. They see that one. That's the how it like I understand panspermia in
Mhm.
like a sci-fi sense, but it just doesn't, like, it doesn't feel like it actually checks out. Like it feels like a total hypothesis.
It feels that way because we don't see like the
It would
big
have to have happened millions of years ago,
yes. It
and it
did.
would have just been like microbes,
Yes.
as you suggest. Like it's
Mhm.
just very, but these are long chain hydrocarbons. These are the largest organic molecules found on Mars. I mean,
Yeah,
this is quite a breakthrough. You know,
it is, but like that would be,
right?
I'm assuming produced by the microbes that we're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, but it's still evidence of life on another planet.
Yes, and
Yeah, it
it's
is.
cool in
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, even further now with all this new technology that we have, we're sort of being able to detect all these things now, and just like this, the James Webb Telescope discovered young giant exoplanets with carbon dioxide signatures on them. I think 4 of them.
Yeah.
Um, so this is kind of mind blowing that we are getting all this information now that life really could have been life could actually be a thing that's actually superfluous, that it's everywhere.
It
it
could.
it really could be everywhere. We could open up Mars and there could be a literal ocean with creatures in there,
Yeah.
because and the only reason that I'm leaning in that direction now is because we see this observed on our planet all the time. When they crack open these ancient structures in caves and things like that, they find life from 100 million years ago. Just recently, an iceberg or an ice sheet the size of Chicago cracked off of Antarctica, revealing um life that we didn't know it could exist down there.
Yeah.
An assortment of sea spiders, octopuses, sponges, stuff that's been just down there without any influence from the outside world, just
Yeah.
developing. Um, and it feels like this sort of hypothesis where Earth is just this one data point, and that's all we have for life. I feel like that's crumbling away with the kind of information and all of the things that we're gathering. What do you think, Billy?
Well,
You're not there yet,
you know that I'm
but
definitely not there yet.
you gotta explain this shit. Then
Yeah.
you have to factor all this in now. You
Yeah.
can't just
Well, no, like this one is pretty to me. This one's pretty cut and dry. This one it got sealed off,
right.
and then because it doesn't get to
Mhm.
collaborate with anything
Yeah.
else. It makes its own version of
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
So this happens.
Yeah,
Um,
this happens repeatedly on this planet.
on this planet, and
Yeah.
yeah, like
And life always seems to burgeon forth.
yeah, yeah. Well, this was like you said, it was cracked off.
Yeah.
There was a pocket somewhere,
Yes.
and that's what this is.
Yes.
So chances are it's even further in. There's
Yeah.
probably other pockets of like this
Exactly.
one.
Well, we know there are, because
Yeah.
when we go into these deep caves in the earth that have never been touched by humans, there's all sorts of weird critters down there, all sorts of weird shrimp and crabs and microbes and all sorts of shit, and weird crystal water. Like it's
Yeah.
it's kind of murky. But yeah, it feels like, that idea that life just came from Earth, just spawned on Earth, and just is continuing on one track forward. I don't, I don't think that's as accurate anymore. I think life branches off in its own ways.
Life always branches off.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it does. It finds a niche,
Yeah,
and then it goes down. It
yeah,
specializes. It finds a way. Life
yeah,
finds a way.
yeah.
But it's at the same time, I don't think it's proliferating everywhere.
You mean across the universe?
Correct.
Yeah, but I mean, we have this evidence now on Mars. What if Mars, like for example, the Torba volcano from 70,000 years ago, it wiped out, like, it basically wiped out the surface, and there was a handful of humans that survived in caves. They would have had to have gone into caves to survive. That's the thing about the Torba volcano. Human beings not only were like annihilated, but our survivors had to go in those caves for many years, for maybe decades, maybe even centuries. They had to live in these caves to pull themselves out of the cataclysm? What if Mars is going through something like that? Because there is another element on Mars that's very, very unique.
No, it's
And that is, what is it called? Which Xenon? Which version of Xenon is it, Billy? Mars Xenon 129. Yeah. So the Martian atmosphere exhibits a significantly higher abundance of Xenon 129, which only happens after a nuclear event.
yes.
So what if Mars had some sort of crazy cataclysm happen to it? And it's going through that period right now. It's going through its turbovolcano period right now. And there's critters below the surface that are evolving. And we just don't, we're discovering this now.
I mean, and that could be, and I don't. One of the things I would like to say is it's a kind of combination between the two things that we've already talked about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying life started also on Mars. I'm saying that if we do find something, it's more likely that it came from Earth or vice versa. Who knows? And got trapped on Mars, and then, like you said, it pockets off because of that. Like you said, it went to the cave or whatever it did. And then it's stayed there because the surface is not very habitable.
Yeah.
So there is a chance that we might find, like, oh, we're digging in Mars, we find a pocket of something, and it's like, oh, but then we look into it and we're like, this is very similar to this over here that we found.
I mean, what if it is? What if Mars and Earth life is exactly the same?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's what I would expect to find.
And just from these alone, just from finding these long chain hydrocarbons and what was it, water on Mars, and our ability to be able to get to Mars now, I think it's imperative that we get over there and start doing Martian archaeology. I think it's absolutely imperative that this happens.
I don't disagree with you, but I do think that not that it doesn't take precedence in some way, but I think it's like setting up the basics comes first. Like,
I'm not saying we got to go over there and start digging now. I'm saying like that should be the end goal. Like we should be if this stuff is true and that there's a lot of evidence pointing towards that there really could be life on Mars, then it should be imperative for us. That should be one of our goals, is to get over there and start doing Martian archaeology in case they have dinosaurs. You know what I mean? In case they have something like that.
So you're just telling me a rogue raptor just survived the trip?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe they came from there. Maybe the reptilians came from Mars and genetically engineered the dinosaurs on our planet.
So Jurassic Park, like 6.
Well, I mean, I don't want to reveal any spoilers or anything when they build Jurassic Park on Mars and start. It'll be the perfect plot. Like, really, guys, who wouldn't want dinosaurs on Mars? Right. Like, that's got to be Jurassic Park 6 or 7. But I mean, if there is some mind-blowing weird shit like that happening, let's go further down the rabbit hole on this idea. Let's check out what these guys are doing to Egypt right now. We're just gonna do an overview. I haven't really looked into this a whole lot. They're saying that there's a Stargate in the Halls of Amenti underneath the Pyramid of Giza, the Giza Plateau. They're saying that Atlantis is real and they were the Egyptians. Okay, so and I'm not even really fucking around here. Like, these guys, what is it? Hold on, let me pull it up. Giza SAR radar. What the hell is it called? All right, here we go. We'll pull up the New York Post. They're not that accurate, but fuck it. There's a vast underground city. We need a tabloid for this. There's a vast underground city below Egypt's Giza pyramids. Scientists' wild theory claims, but experts debunk it as fake news. Obviously, the experts would debunk it as fake news, but we are here to rebunk it. Okay, so researchers claim that they've discovered the legendary Halls of Amenti in a vast city beneath Egypt's pyramids of Giza. So the way that they did this is they they use this radar, synthetic aperture radar, and basically what it is they have satellites that monitor the planet, and they monitor the vibrations of different structures in the planet. And through these vibrations from outer space, through the data that they receive in these satellites, they're able to reconstruct what they believe are structures deep within the Earth. They are able to monitor these very small vibrations and really see what's buried under there. Now, I don't know how well this stuff is tested, but apparently this is an Italian university. These are Italian, professors that have done this experiment, and they've discovered um basically these 2 kilometer long structures that descend below the pyramid itself. And they're on these giant blocks. So, like, the pyramid is fucking huge. These things would be the size of buildings deep into the ground underneath the pyramid. So the pyramid allegedly is 6,000 years old. I don't really believe that, but apparently, what modern Egyptologists say is that what they try to maintain is that the pyramid of Giza is 6,000 years old. But what this would mean is that we would have had to have had a profoundly technologically advanced society to build these structures, because what this implies, the only thing that it could be multiple different things, but what I would say alternative community, their conclusion is coming to, is that this is some sort of device. This is some sort of mega structure to harness the Earth's power, some sort of way to focus Earth's geomagnetic energies into an energy generation system, which would suggest that Egypt was far older and far more advanced than we understand. And and so here, this just came out. Brian Romel on X, he's great. He's been doing a deep dive on this stuff. He just cleaned up what these structures look like with AI, and the AI came to the conclusion that the columns are not natural, and the best postulate is that they were not built underground, but were once built on what was the surface of the Earth. Now, I believe this is all still part of the Sahara Desert. And we know that around 8 or 10,000 years ago, the Sahara Desert was actually green. All that sand was not really that kind of just brushed over it. So it could be something like that, but there's a suggestion here that there's something a lot crazier here going on. What would you say? Now, obviously, Egyptologists in Egypt are super pissed about this, because I don't even think they knew that this was happening. Egyptologists in Egypt famously don't really let outside researchers research this stuff, but they're doing it with satellites, so they don't have a say here. So obviously, the Egyptologists are going to conflict with this, but I think this research is somewhat accurate. I think that's somewhat valid.
So one of the things I think about this research,
Yeah.
is, and you brought up the Egyptologists. They don't like outsiders.
Yeah.
I think that's too bad. But
Yeah.
one of the things that you have to do if you're going to get people to legitimize what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that goes for the Egyptologist.
Yeah.
Is other people have to see it.
Yes.
And
that goes both ways. Absolutely. Yep.
And in this case, the thing that I would push for is like, okay, so he knows, like, he's showing these columns. He knows where these things are.
Yeah.
He could locate it and be like, it's here.
Mhm.
Like, what's the easiest way to confirm that? Just go to it.
Well, it's like in the ground, embedded into the ground.
That's what I mean. But like for us, we don't have to go all the way to the bottom of it. I'm saying, it connects somewhere probably to closer to the surface.
No, well, that would be the deal here, is that this is just simply like undiscovered.
Yeah,
Like there was no indication.
Oh yeah, no,
You know
I'm
what I
saying
mean?
and it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But now we have.
Oh yeah, obviously now we know where it is, so now we could go look. Right.
Yeah, and go look.
Yeah, we could go check it out, and I think that's the deal. I think that's what they are going to do.
Yeah.
That's what their plan is, and I'm looking forward to seeing the research on it, because the implications are fucking immense. Just as a side note, remote viewers are famously known for stating that the advanced remote viewers. That they go to the Pyramid of Giza, to something like this, while they remote view, and there's stuff there. There's like halls there. They're calling it the Halls of Amenti. It's very interesting. That we'll probably do a much longer episode on this, to just do a deep dive on ancient civilizations and what that would mean. But the question is, what if this was some sort of interplanetary civilization on here and Mars? What if we find shit like this on Mars? What would you think if we found shit like this underneath the sand on Mars, Billy?
So, as of right now,
Yeah,
I have two takes on this, because it's two different ways.
Yeah.
One, we go to the hole.
Yeah.
And we find that this hole was dug.
Yeah.
Like, I meant like with shovels and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, granted, it would be very difficult to do.
Yeah.
But when you got a labor force, you could do it technically.
Oh yeah.
Now holes are hard to build, especially in a column like that.
Yeah.
Because it can get unstable. But if we just find like, hey, this does actually look like someone was shoveling all the way down, then that's one thing. That just, it doesn't necessarily invoke technology.
Oh no, these are structures. They're not holes.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying if we just find that they're holes,
Right.
But,
okay.
The other one is if we go there and we find like these are holes, advanced things were used to reinforce these things.
Yeah.
They may even be a structure,
Yeah.
in some way.
Yeah.
At that point, if I suspend all my other disbelief,
Yeah.
and I'm just willing to go with it, then then it does point to maybe something, maybe some human somewhere got a little more advanced, because there is lost technology.
Yeah.
And
Sabu disk. So this is probably like, there is lost technology, and the more we analyze ancient Egypt, the more we find really weird stuff. So this is called the Sabu disk, and it was made 3,000 years ago, allegedly. That's what they could tell from carbon dating. And this thing is like sci-fi 3D printed. This is a piece of machinery from 3,000 years ago. They're trying to pass it off as like some kind of weird water jug or something, that some sort of ceremonial device or whatever. That looks like the part off of a machine to me. That's what that looks like. But I mean, I could be wrong. It could be some sort of weird ceremonial thing. It totally could be. The Egyptians might have. I don't even know. I don't even know how to explain that.
I mean, to me, I'm not an engineer. I don't know exactly what they would use that for. It could be.
This
Like
is made. This is alleged. See, the reason why I said 3D printed is because allegedly this is made out of one solid piece of stone that was
schist.
of schist that was
Yeah.
just carved in this way.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I mean, in a way, that's impressive.
yeah,
You could carve that. It would be difficult.
yeah,
Um, but like I said, I don't know exactly what its use was supposed to be.
yeah,
It could just have been a decorative thing. It could have been
yeah.
some
That's
kind
what
of
they're saying. Yeah,
some kind of water wheel type
yeah,
deal. I have no clue.
yeah.
And the issue is I don't know if we're ever going to.
The problem, and this is the issue that Ben Van Kerkwyk brings up, and he's great, by the way. Definitely check out Ben Van Kerkwyk. He is a machinist. I think he's Australian. He's a professional industrial machinist that started to take an interest into Egyptology, and he came to the conclusion that Egyptologists and archaeologists have no idea what the fuck tools do, or how they work, or what metals work with what. And he found clear evidence of different types of machining techniques, modern machining techniques used in ancient Egypt. I don't know what they are necessarily, but he does. You could look up his podcasts. And just the idea that Egyptians had legions of slaves with copper tools making this shit is so far fetched to me that that destroys the whole narrative to me to begin with. I don't that they use copper tools to make any of this is, I mean, maybe some of it, but the effort that you would have to go through to you would have to divert so much resources of your civilization to do these things, that your civilization would just be crumbling constantly because you're trying to do something that's just not helpful to you at all. Like an enormous amount of effort that's not helpful to your civilization. So it just never checked out for me.
Yeah, and I mean, you can definitely say stuff like that.
Yeah,
But one of the things I would also like to be, taken into account for something like this
yeah,
is even though this was found in ancient Egypt, and
mhm,
Egypt at the time was probably, you know, peak civilization.
yeah.
It does not mean it was made necessarily in Egypt.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's the whole deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Because the granite
mhm.
that they've shown, the granite that they used to build the
Yeah.
pyramids, did not
No, it didn't come
that
from
area.
Egypt. Yeah,
It came from quite a distance away,
yeah,
meaning they were trading or at
yeah.
least traveling.
The
Quite,
only way, I don't believe the dragging theory, by the way. I think the dragging thing, that is completely ridiculous. The only way that you could just say maybe they did it this way is by boat. That's it. Maybe they moved those granite blocks by boat. But how did they get it off the ship? How did they move it through the sand? How did they do all these things? Like then everything else just falls apart. Like especially, I'm glad you brought up the granite, because that I didn't really want to get into the granite blocks, but the granite blocks, that's the deal breaker for me. Like I'm just done there. Like this is what with the historical record that you're telling me sounds more far-fetched than sci-fi. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, all I brought up was the granite in regards
The granite
to
is
trading, but
I have so many issues with the granite blocks,
but
but maybe that'll be for another episode.
yeah, and just to hit on that a little
Yeah.
more, it's not just dragging.
Yeah.
It's also like, and you've seen it in modern life.
Yeah.
We still do it on
Mhm.
time to time. It's you put things in front of it, rolling, and
Oh yeah, you could do stuff like
Yeah.
that, but
and you pull, and then someone
we're talking about granite blocks that are far beyond far beyond anything that we would attempt in modern day.
Yeah.
Like reasonable, like that we have never attempted to build a pyramid in modern day. And that's the other deal breaker. Why haven't we ever at least tried to remake the Pyramid of Giza, just to try to see how anyone would be able to do this? What I mean, there's got to be a billion. Like, how much would it cost to get that much granite and just try it? Just try to fucking build one of these things. Like, I mean, okay, get a billionaire. There's got to be one billionaire that's like, okay, we're gonna try to rebuild one of these giant fucking pyramids using the exact same shitty techniques that these Egyptologists have been touting. We're gonna try it. It's never been tried. Never been tried. Never even attempted. Nobody's even like. There's no push for that.
Do you need a pyramid?
No. I need them to try to make one of these things to come back and say that they failed. That's what I need, because that's what would happen. They would give up. Like there'd be the amount of effort that you would have to put in.
Yeah, but no one needs a pyramid.
Nobody needs a pyramid.
Yeah.
But but the thing is, how much would it actually cost? Has anybody come up with the numbers? Has anybody ever even attempted it?
I'm sure someone has somewhere.
Yeah.
It's the math is out there for how much it could cost. But again, these were, when you're building something for a pharaoh, which is quite literally a god,
a god
Earth,
king. Yeah.
It's like, you're gonna do it.
But that's okay. So that concept right there. Yeah, you're gonna do it. Okay. We're all in a desert. We outnumber you significantly. We're diverting all these crazy resources to this instead of trying to maintain civilization for food and stuff. None of it checks out. It just doesn't make any sense. Like I don't know. Like, to me, the math does not check out on that end. It doesn't, like, to divert a civilization that much to do this. That's a tall order for me.
It is, but ancient times were
they were rough.
They were rough, and it was a different
happened.
thing.
It could have totally happened. We could have been that totally brutal and psychotic. That's in the Bible.
Oh, I mean, I don't think it was necessarily psychotic. It was
Oh, that would be totally psychotic. Like, just legions of slaves to make statues. Holy shit! You'd have to be out of your fucking mind.
Well, like, I'm not saying this is by any means the way that we should look at it, but if you look at
because
Xerxes.
Okay. Yeah.
And because we have 300 the movie. Again, I'm not saying it is a accurate.
But
depiction.
he had like an empire building. He wanted to build an empire. He wanted to expand, and even Genghis Khan wanted to build these guys just wanted to build statues in the middle of a desert. That's not a real goal. That's not. I mean, it's a monument to the future, perhaps, but to them, but it's like you would think there would be more uprisings. You would think there would be that somebody would end that shit after like one generation. Like, we can't be doing the God King thing where we divert everything to build statues in the middle of the desert.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's everything.
I mean, that's as you look into Egyptology, it's like, well, yeah, and they did this to build the pyramids, and this, and this, and this, and it just goes down the list that, I guess all of their society was based around building temples and statues in a desert. I don't know. That doesn't really check out to me. It's just, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah,
I could be totally wrong about all of this.
Yeah.
And they did it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have anything else to add?
No.
All right.
That's it.
Well, I guess that's the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get into this. We'll definitely have a longer episode about ancient civilizations in more detail.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See you next time.